Why do we spend so much time trying to convince ourselves to do something when something is optional? And honestly, a lot of things are. Why do we sit there and try to reason with ourselves? Why do we build arguments? And why do we try to probably override our gut feeling? Now that I have more control over my time, and I'm not really required to be in places like I was in high school, I find myself choosing what I do and who I spend time with a lot more. And it made me realize that everything is optional to an extent. But I'm negotiating with myself constantly about whether or not I should do something. And the more I think about it, the more I believe is if you have to spend, I think, more than a fraction of a second trying to justify something that's optional, it's a sign. Not always that it's wrong, but that it's like not for you right now. And I think when something is like truly right, there's clarity and there's like an energy behind your decision and like a pull from you to something to do something. And you don't need to debate yourself in your head. And I have a big problem with overthinking, but when something is for you, you just go and you just do it. And you don't need to think about yourself or, oh, should I or should I not do this? Like, I would feel bad if I do, but, I'm tired or whatever or whatnot or blah, 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 whatever you want to say. And this applies to people as well, friendships and dating and relationships. Why do we spend so much time trying to decode like mixed signals from somebody or, try and understand what somebody's actually saying or what their meaning is behind, not talking to us or saying something to us or not saying something to us? And I think if someone's interest isn't obvious, why do we try to convince ourselves it is? And why are we analyzing, every text, every word that they send? What are we doing? If you have to analyze someone's intentions or have to think about what they're actually thinking and you can't just like see it in front of you or you can't hear it coming from them, why do we bother? There's no point. They're obviously not, they're not, their intention isn't there, because if they wanted to, if they wanted to, they would, and they would make it obvious. I think anybody would make it obvious if they wanted you to understand something. And I get it. I think a lot of us are kind of lonely and alone and crave attention, connection. But, you know, having to guess and rationalize and interpret every tiny interaction is exhausting. When someone like genuinely likes you, you can feel it. When a friendship is real, you don't have to question it every night. You don't have to like, it's just there. It's right in front of you. When an activity is for you, you go and do it. It's simple as that. And never thinking is also not the thing. I'm an overthinker. I live in my head. I try and rationalize everything, every decision I make, every dollar I spend, and whatnot. You know, but we're so good at building logical cases for things I think our gut's already rejected. This person isn't consistent, but maybe they're just busy. You know, it doesn't excite me, but it's practical. This job looks boring, but it pays well. No, no. We all know what real excitement feels like. We all know what genuine joy feels like, or real interest or real love. So when something is like obviously clearly lesser and we have to convince ourselves, why do we convince ourselves it's enough? Why do we downgrade the standards and call it, I'm mature, I'm thinking through something, I'm doing the right thing, I'm thinking. I'm applying for summer internships right now. Yeah, they're definitely probably competitive. They're probably saturated. I'm probably not gonna get a lot of them. They're all probably long shots because everyone is, super good at everything, whatever. And, people are like, oh yeah, apply to everything, apply to 50, 60 jobs, 100 jobs. There's not 100 jobs that I want to do. So why am I like spending the time doing it when I'm not going to be excited if I get it? Just like, oh yeah, I got that job, but maybe I do it because it pays okay and it's an internship, but it sounds super boring and I don't really want to do it. No, not going to do that. I found two so far on my own that I think are really interesting in software engineering. 4Game I really like, and 4Game design. And it's not aligned with my major at all, but it feels awesome. It looks awesome. It is super exciting. I was immediately excited by it. I'm excited to write a cover letter and do applications for these jobs. And I've probably never felt that way before for any other job. Again, they're probably long shots, but I'm gonna put my best foot forward and try my best because I feel a genuine pull to it. And now that I know that I can feel this genuine pull, why am I settling for anything else in any other job? Why do we settle preemptively? Why do we treat ourselves like we don't deserve, alignment with ourselves? And responsibilities exist. So probably don't ignore reality all the time. But if something is optional, if it's who you date, or if it's what internship you apply to, what to do with your free time, or who you spend your free time with, why are we compromising? If you have to convince yourself or gaslight yourself or even reason with yourself, I think for more than like a moment, this is fine, this is good enough, this makes sense. That's the answer. When something is right, you don't have to negotiate with yourself. You don't have to build a case. You don't write a pros and cons list. We need to trust ourselves more in our gut and not have to try to fight it and reason with it. Think less, which is like a stupidly cringe statement, but think less and force less and convince yourself less. And if it's constantly confusing you, like your decision, or draining or uninspiring sometimes, let it go. Because we all know, I think, what genuine excitement feels like or looks like. And I don't think we should settle for anything that makes us forget that feeling. Have a great night.